What's up, Tailgaters? You're in the booth with Tailgate Nate today. Welcome to my channel and welcome back to some college football content. Hey, that's what this channel is all about, isn't it? And again, I apologize for college football content being a little slow. Trying to get everything packed and moved and set up for my internship and everything like that has just been very, very hectic. However, everything is done. I am set up, I am unpacked, and I'm ready to start producing college football content at a more regular basis for you guys. And hey, I just want to let you guys know the prediction season is right around the corner. We are starting pretty much right as June starts. I believe June 2nd going to be that first date for college football predictions. You don't want to miss it because I'm doing all 134 teams, which, yes, that means I'm doing your favorite team no matter who you're a fan of. I'm doing your team if they are an FBS team. And I want you guys to be able to join me in that journey. So hit the subscribe button, ring the bell so you know, especially when your team gets uploaded. But you can also do more than that to help support the channel. You're doing one right now by watching the video. And while you're here, you might as well like, comment, share. Again, hit that subscribe button. That doesn't hurt either. Whatever you can do to help support the channel does mean a lot to me. But I'm not going to ramble on about me, about the channel anymore. The important thing is that I'm here creating content for you guys. So let's talk about my top 25. And it's a really hard thing to put together right now. Okay, creating a top 25 right now is so difficult because that bottom third of your top 25, there are so many teams that you can make a case for being higher, lower, teams that aren't in my poll to be in my poll, and things like that. So this is my personal opinion. I think everyone's top 25 poll is going to look drastically different from anybody else's, because there are just a ton of teams out there that have the potential to be really, really good, and a ton of teams that you can make a case on why they are a top 25 caliber team, including these teams right here. These are teams that did not end up making my top 25 poll, but I absolutely could see you making a case to get into that poll. There are a ton of others that aren't here either. South Carolina, Kentucky, potentially even a team like Colorado, some other group of 5 teams like Liberty or Memphis. We'll start with the group of 5 team in Boise State. I think they're the best group of 5 team in the country right now. A ton of great talent on that team, returns offensively, defensively. Great shot to get into the 12-team playoff as the group of 5 representative. Couple teams out of the ACC. SMU is a new team in the ACC, was very, very good last year. I think they'll be very good again this year. Rhett Lashley's group will be competitive in a Power 4 conference. Louisville was a team I had ranked in the pre-spring rankings. I don't in the post-spring, just some teams I ended up liking a little bit better, but still a great squad there that Jeff Brom has at Louisville. Washington getting Jed Fish, I think, has a great roster as well. Again, just some teams I liked a little bit better. Virginia Tech and West Virginia, I think, are teams that people are going to sleep on here. You don't want to, because they're teams that I think are going to be pretty darn good this year, pretty competitive. And if you sleep on them, they're going to surprise you. And then if Dylan Raiola can be what he is supposed to be at Nebraska, Nebraska is going to be a team that's going to be really, really good in the ranks of the Big Ten this year. But again, none of these teams and some of the other ones I mentioned made my top 25. Okay, so what teams did? Well, let's start at the bottom. We'll work our way up after this water break. You see 25 through 21. And we will begin at number 25. 2 teams that were unranked, both of them out of the Big Ten from my last poll. The Iowa Hawkeyes slide in here at number 25. New offensive coordinator, new offensive staff. That is the big storyline for Iowa this year. Cade McNamara is going to be healthy, and we know the defense is going to be really, really good. How well does Cade McNamara play? How good does this offensive system look? All of those factors and more are going to factor into whether or not this is an Iowa team that can duplicate that 10-win mark that they reached last season. And they were able to reach that on the defensive side alone. They are losing some good pieces off that defense. So if the defense can stay playing at that level and the offense improves even just a little bit, Iowa's going to be really, really good. And it's the exact opposite storyline for the USC Trojans. Yes, Caleb Williams is gone. Miller Moss is still there. Zachariah Branch is still there. Deuce Robinson is still there. There's a ton of great talent in the USC offensive room. Offensive line might maybe be a little bit of a question mark, but I think it's going to be ready to go. I have no questions about this USC offense, at least not as many as I do about this defense. Now, Lincoln Riley has moved to a defensive-first philosophy. DeAnton Lynn is going to end up being that defensive coordinator, and USC is a team that on paper, looks like they should massively improve defensively. I do like the defensive staff. I like what Lincoln Riley is doing in going to this defense first approach. We will see if it pays off for him. I think the offense with Miller Moss will still be okay. It's the defensive side of the ball that will write the headlines for USC this year. Texas A&M has Mike Elko coming in, a first-year head coach that I think is going to be ready to win in Aggie land. Connor Weigman is still going to end up being that quarterback, and although a lot of that recruiting class that Texas A&M brought in a couple years ago has hit the transfer portal, some of the guys that are still there and some of the guys that are returning on this roster, even some of the guys they're bringing in through the transfer portal, are ballers. And I think Mike Elko is going to have this group rearing, ready to go. He has been through this Texas A&M program before. He was a former defensive coordinator. I think he knows what it takes to compete at the SEC level. I think he knows what it takes to be able to compete at a program like Texas A&M. And with being in the program before, I think he also understands the pressure that is on his shoulders and just what this fan base expects out of this team. I think Mike Elko is going to set himself up really nicely here in 2024. A&M is at 23. A couple Big 12 teams are at 22 and 21. Hey, Kansas has got a lot coming back. Devin Neal is going to be a really viable part of this offense. Yet again, I believe a 1,200-yard rusher last year. But Jalen Daniels coming back is the big storyline for Kansas. That is going to be the difference in this Kansas Jayhawk team. That and the defense, they've made continuous improvements year after year. We'll see if they do it again. Andy Kotelnicki, the offensive coordinator, goes over to Penn State. So we'll see what that looks like. But as long as Jalen Daniels stays healthy, this is the team that can go win the Big 12 conference and get into the college football playoff. I truly do believe that. But they're also going to have to compete with Oklahoma State, who returns another phenomenal running back in Ollie Gordon. I think he's, again, is going to be one of the top rushers in the country if Alan Bowman can stay healthy. I think Mike Gundy's group is going to have good quarterback play. And if you haven't been paying attention, Mike Gundy's group is always going to have phenomenal defensive play. They did drop 5 spots from the pre-spring poll, and it's just simply because there are a couple other teams I started to like a little bit more than the Oklahoma State Cowboys. However, that very well could be leading to my personal downfall because, again, it seems like every time we count Oklahoma State out, they overachieve. And that's just what Mike Gundy does. He can do it again at Oklahoma State this year. However, this is the team that on paper figures to be one of the top teams in the Big 12 Conference. They're at number 21 for me. Let's move on into the top 20 here. And this is where I got the Kansas State Wildcats at number 20. A lot of this hinges on if Avery Johnson is going to be the quarterback that everyone says he's going to be, which I do believe that to be the case. I think Avery Johnson is going to be a really, really good weapon for the Kansas State Wildcats from the quarterback position. Some great transfers coming in. You get Dylan Edwards, a Colorado transfer that is coming over here. He's going to be pairing into the backfield with DJ Giddens. Ton of other great talent on this Kansas State team. Now, defensively, I do think that they lost some pieces. I think they added some pieces. So defense, I think, is just going to be a drop and replace. But Kansas State is a team that might take a step back from where they were last year. Again, Will Howard is gone. Some of the other weapons are gone as well. But there's still a lot of continuity with this team. And Chris Kleiman is a very good head coach that I believe will have this team competing right near the top of the Big 12 Conference. The NC State Wolfpack got a ton of high-profile transfers, especially offensively. Listen to this. Grayson McCall, he is your new QB1 coming over from Coastal Carolina. Jordan Waters, he's your new RB1. He's going to be coming over from Mike Elko's old club in Duke. You do have Concepcion coming back at wide receiver, but Noah Rogers is a young Ohio State transfer that may very well prove to be the top target here. He just got caught in a loaded wide receiver room, and he is transferred over here to the NC State Wolfpack. A couple other transfers coming in on the defensive side, and we know Dave Doran's group plays some phenomenal defensive ball, but the offense is going to be there this year as well. Again, if Grayson McCall plays anything near the level like he did at Coastal Carolina, especially that year that everyone started to figure out who Grayson McCall was, they're going to be a very, very good team. However, a team that I do like a little bit better than them within their own conference is Miami. I mean, wow. just the amount of talent they brought in through the spring transfer portal window alone tells me that Miami, they're picking up some real steam to be able to earn a spot in that 12-team college football playoff. I think Miami is going to be really good this year, and I know we've said that about Miami for what feels like forever now, and they haven't really lived up to expectations for so long. I think this is the year that they finally do it. Miami, I think, is too talented of a team to not at least win 7, 8, maybe even 9 games this year. And I think the schedule sets up pretty nicely for them as well. I can't remember much out of it off the top of my head, but Cam Ward coming in at quarterback, Damien Martinez coming in at running back, Xavier Restrepo comes back at wide receiver. They added a ton of defensive transfers, especially on the defensive front. You got that one edge rusher from Michigan State to come in there, and a ton of other talent as well. This is the team with Mario Cristobal that I feel like is going to be a big contender within the ACC. They jumped 5 spots for me. Watch out for the Hurricanes. They're making some noise. The Big 12 is a new home for the Arizona Wildcats. Jed Fish is no longer there. He's the head coach at Washington, but he didn't bring some of the top talent on this Wildcat team with him. Tairoa McMillan, that stud wide receiver, is coming back for new head coach Brent Brennan, as is the quarterback Noah Fafita. Now, you lose a ton of talent defensively, much like what happened last year, but there are some good transfers and some good pieces coming in offensively, defensively. But with that quarterback wide receiver duo, that's going to win them some games by themselves. Fafita, I think, is only going to build off of what he did last year. Tyrone McMillan is still going to be, I think, one of the best wide receivers in the entire country. And Arizona sets up very nicely to be able to compete right away within the Big 12 Conference. Clemson is here at number 16, and I do want to talk about Dabo Swinney's group for a little bit longer because, again, for yet another season, Dabo Swinney has failed to utilize the transfer portal. There are only 4 teams that did not bring a single transfer in. The 3 armed force teams, Army, Navy, and Air Force, you would expect. But Clemson was the 4th. No incoming transfers for this team. There are some outgoing transfers, though. It is year 2, I believe, of Cade Klubnik. There is some pretty solid offensive talent around him, and there is a new, not a new offensive staff, but Garrett Riley, now in his 2nd year as the offensive coordinator, I think can start to figure out things a little bit better. I do think Clemson is going to be a team that is going to be better than they have been in the past couple of seasons, at least in terms of Clemson Tigers standards. And to me, they're the 2nd best team in the ACC. Guess what? If you're a Power 5 or a Power 4 team now, I should say, and you win your conference, you get an automatic bid to the college football playoff. That's what Clemson's aim is. That is exactly what they're built to do. The defense is still going to be tough. Can Cade Klubnik make that jump? That is going to be the big key for Clemson. They are here at number 16 for me. Jumping on in here to the top 15, this is where I got the Tennessee Volunteers. It is Nico time in Tennessee, and I think he's going to live up to the hype perfectly. He's got a phenomenal weapon in Squirrel White. Brew McCoy is going to be coming back after that devastating injury last year. And you move over to the defensive side of the ball where, yes, Tennessee has had some questions in years past. James Pierce might be the number 1 overall pick in this upcoming NFL draft in April of 2025. Sorry, quick water break. He's probably one of, if not the best defensive players in the entire country, the defensive edge rusher out of the University of Tennessee. So this Tennessee team, I think, and the schedule sets up pretty nicely for them here. Now, they do still have to play Georgia. Of course, you still have to play Bama. Or no, they might avoid Georgia. No, they still have to play Georgia. You have to go to Norman, which we'll talk about Oklahoma here in a minute. But you get Alabama at home. I believe you avoid LSU. I believe you avoid Missouri as well. And Nico's going to live up to the hype. He's got some phenomenal weapons, and the defense, I think, is going to be a lot better than they were at times last season. But Oklahoma has added some real nice defensive pieces of their own. That is the question mark surrounding Brent Venables' group right now. Dominic Williams is coming over, the stud freshman defensive tackle from TCU. Last year got all Big 12 honors. He is coming over to this Oklahoma team to add a boost defensively. A couple other really talented defensive transfers coming over as well. But it is the Jackson Arnold show now. Dylan Gabriel is gone. He's in Eugene now. Oklahoma is Coming over from the Big 12 into the SEC, the defense is going to have to be better. We know that. But Jackson Arnold returns a ton at this wide receiver room. In fact, I believe their top 3 or 4 receivers all come back, which is huge for this team, especially for a quarterback like Jackson Arnold, who we've really only seen perform in the bowl game against Arizona last year. However, I think that's who he is. I think he's a gunslinger, a really, really good player that's going to lead this Oklahoma offense to do really good things. How much of a step up does that defense take? That is the key for the Sooners this year. The Florida State Seminoles are here at number 13, and I think there are some people, not saying everybody, but there are some people out there that are underrating what Florida State has. DJU is coming over at the quarterback position, and you can debate whether or not it's an upgrade or a downgrade from Jordan Travis, but the fact of the matter is, can he bring that same leadership that Jordan Travis was able to bring here to this team? I think that is the key for DJU coming in, and we'll see if he makes another big jump. There definitely is. Can DJU take that next step, though? And he never really has lived up to the hype that he got back at Clemson. Really started to prove himself at Oregon State, now here at Florida State. We'll see if he can provide that leadership that Jordan Travis did. Some good pieces coming back, surrounding him offensively, defensively, but you are losing a ton of talent there. Keon Coleman is gone. Some great names in the running back room are gone. Florida State is a team I'm really excited to watch here, and for me at least, they're the front runner in the ACC to go get a spot in the 12-team college football playoff. LSU is right here at number 12, and while they didn't necessarily do, in my opinion, at least everything that they needed to do in the transfer portal cycle, I believe that LSU is still built to compete for a spot in the 12-team playoff and compete in the SEC. Now, when I take a look at what this LSU team is built, it is Garrett Nussmeier time, and you're losing Brian Thomas, you're losing Malik Neighbors, so Kyron Lacey probably going to end up being that number 1 target there. You are losing some good pieces out of that running back room as well. And defensively, it just wasn't a great team last year defensively on that side of the ball. However, Blake Baker, the defensive coordinator from Missouri, is coming over. And when I take a look at what this LSU team is made of, to me, a lot of it, especially offensively, is going to rely on how good Garrett Nussmeier is. We've been hearing for quite some time now, even when Jane Daniels was transferring over, a lot of Tiger fans and even some other fans around SEC country thought Nussmeier was going to be that guy to start. Ended up being Jane Daniels, and we obviously know how that turned out. Turned out pretty good for the LSU Tigers, but Nussmeier, I think, is a guy that can be really, really good, has a very, very high ceiling, has some good weapons around him, and as long as Blake Baker and that defense get better, LSU is absolutely a team to fear once again in 2024. Michigan, though, I do not believe that they are going to be as good as they were last year during their national championship years. However, this is a team still built to go make a 12-team college football playoff run in Sharon Moore's first year, especially on the defensive side of the ball. That defense is still built really, really well. A ton of returning pieces come back there, even though you do lose a lot of guys to the NFL and pretty much every single level, maybe even the 1 or 2 losses out of the transfer portal there as well, but ton of great talent on the defensive line coming back. Ernest Hausman comes back, Rod Moore in the secondary, and some other pieces come back. Michigan's defense is still built really, really well. It's the offense, right? Roman Wilson, Cornelius Johnson, they are gone out of the wide receiver realm. However, Colston Lovell in that tight end, as well as a couple of other weapons. Samaj Morgan, the freshman from last year, will be a year older, a year more experienced, a year more in this system. He could poise to break out in 2024, but who was going to play quarterback for this team, right? Yeah, a lot of people figured it was Alex Orji. Well, now there's a lot of talk that he might not even be that starter. Davis Warren, Jack Tuttle. The offensive system really depends on who will be the quarterback for Michigan this year. However, I do like the fact that Donovan Edwards comes back, and that sets up Michigan really, really well. Once they get that quarterback position figured out, I'll have a little more confidence in Michigan, but for me, compared to my last poll, they have dropped out of my top 10. Let's look at who is in my top 10 now, at least according to me, and I do have the Missouri Tigers still here. Now, again, I just talked about it a little bit ago, Blake Baker is gone. We'll see what that defense is made of for Missouri this upcoming season. However, there still are a lot of good pieces. I think it's going to be really good. But the focus of this team is on the offensive side of the ball, right? Even though Cody Schrader is gone, those other two pieces, the quarterback, running back, wide receiver trio, are back. Yes, again, as I just said, Cody Schrader is gone, but Brady Cook, he's back. Luther Burden, he's back. And that's going to poise Missouri to be really, really good this year. And look, there are three teams within Missouri's conference in the SEC that I have not talked about yet that you don't even see on screen right now that Missouri doesn't have to play. I'm talking about Georgia, I'm talking about Texas, and I'm talking about Ole Miss. They do draw the Alabama Crimson Tide, but other than that, I mean, yes, you're still going to have your difficult games that Missouri has to play. But again, you avoid three teams that by process of elimination I have in my top 5. The schedule sets up well. There is some great talent coming back. Missouri is primed and ready to get to a college football playoff spot in the 12-team field. Utah is here at number 9, and do not count out the Utes. Cam Rising is back. Brant Keithy is back. Kyle Whittingham is still going to have a hard-nosed defensive bunch. He always does. And Utah, to me, first year in the Big 12 Conference, I see them as the front runner to win the Big 12 Conference right now. Utah is built really, really well. As long as Cam Rising can stay healthy, some of these other offensive weapons are going to step up. Brant Keithy is going to be a top tight end in the nation, probably one of the top tight ends that gets taken in the April 2025 NFL Draft. The defense is still going to be really, really good, and Utah is built and primed for success, and likely we'll get a spot in that 12-team college football playoff. Penn State is here at number 8. Now, to me, there's a clear barrier between the top 8 teams and the rest of the field. But to me, Penn State probably is the team I have the most questions about. However, not deep. Okay, that might be a little bit of an exaggeration and also maybe a little bit of a lie as well. So I definitely misspoke there. They have a question to me at the quarterback position. Not that I don't have faith in Drew Aller, because, again, when he's throwing those short passes, he's really, really good. But that deep ball presence, still have not really seen that out of Drew Aller, and you need it. How do you expect to beat secondaries like with what Michigan has, like with what Oregon has, like with what Ohio State has, right? Penn State's going to need that downfield ball. And look, you do have some really good wide receivers. Keandre Lambert-Smith is out. Plug in Julian Fleming. He's a transfer coming over from a team within the conference. In the Ohio State Buckeyes, Abdul Carter is going to move to the edge, more of a natural position for him, and Penn State is still set up nicely defensively. Drew Aller's got to develop that downfield ball. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it if Penn State's going to want to go win a national championship. However, still a team that absolutely should get a spot in the 12-team field, as should the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. This is a team in which their schedule sets up perfectly for them. You have Florida State, you have USC, a couple other tricky games here and there, but there is not Texas A&M is on that schedule as well, but there is not that one big game that you look and you can easily pencil in a loss for this Notre Dame team. There just isn't. There is not that game this year. Notre Dame is built really well. They're bringing over Riley Leonard from Duke. Ton of other defensive pieces come back. Their offense has some really good pieces. That wide receiver core is only going to be getting older and more experienced, guys like Greathouse and others. I think Notre Dame is primed really, really well. Marcus Freeman and company are definitely going to be a team to watch in terms of the conversation to go win a national championship and to get into the 12-team field. Let's talk about Alabama. Nick Saban is gone. We all know that. Kalen DeBoer is coming in. He is a winner. A winner. To those of you out there still doubting Kalen DeBoer, don't. You're making a mistake. Jalen Milroe is still there. Alabama's got some great talent offensively. Yes, you do lose a couple big pieces on the offensive end, on the defensive end, but Kalen DeBoer has brought in some very, very good players. Again, it's going to be really interesting to see how Kalen DeBoer adapts to using more of a dual threat style quarterback, because when he was at Fresno State, he had Jake Haener. When he was at Washington, he had Michael Penix, both guys that are really just going to sit back in the pocket and throw. But if you are still doubting this Alabama team, you are making a mistake. Alabama's still going to be one of the best teams in the country this year. They still have some question marks, yes, absolutely, but Kalen DeBoer is a winner, and until he proves us otherwise, I have no reason to doubt Kalen DeBoer and this Alabama team. To me, they're still one of the top teams in the country. They are at number 6. However, the top 5 to me has been a little bit more clear. Now that spring is over, Ole Miss is at number 5. I love what Lane Kiffin's Rebels have. They have the mentality that this is their year. Ole Miss is going to be a team that is going to go out and, to me, should be one of your favorites to go win a national championship. I think Ole Miss is going to be really, really, really good this year. Jackson Dart, he comes back. Now, you do lose Quinshon Judkins and some defensive pieces, especially to the NFL and through the portal as well. But Lane Kiffin just went and played Portal King. Antoine Wells, sure, why not? We'll bring him in. You got some great defensive pieces coming over here, which is definitely the side of the ball the Ole Miss needs to improve on the most. And we've seen improvement year after year after year. Jackson Dart's going to be a stud. This offense is going to be rolling. The defense is going to continue to get better. This is the year for the Ole Miss Rebels. To me, they are at number 5. But to me, there is a clear-cut top 4, and it's the 4 teams you see right there. And honestly, I'm really okay with whatever order you have them in. However, I think Texas and Oregon are 3 and 4, and Ohio State, Georgia are 1 and 2, specifically in the order that you have them in on your screen right now, but it is close. And I mean razor-thin margins between these teams. We're going to talk about Oregon first because they are at 4. Slight change. I did switch Texas and Oregon from my pre-spring poll. However, I still love what the Ducks have. Dylan Gabriel, still there. Wide receiver group. I mean, you've got some absolutely phenomenal players in there. And Dan Lanning, he is one of my favorite coaches in the entire country. I love Dan Lanning. It's impossible not to, no matter who you root for, at least in the back of your mind or in your heart a little bit, say, man, I hope Dan Lanning does some good things. His fire, his passion, his energy is amazing. He continued to stack up on defensive talent. Oregon is going to be really, really good. They have a chance to go win a Big Ten title in their first year in the conference. They're absolutely a team you're going to see in the postseason in that 12-team field. They're going to be one of the best teams in the country on both sides of the ball this year, as are the Texas Longhorns. So Quinn Ewers surprised the college football nation. Hey, he's back, right? Quinn Ewers is coming back. There's a ton of offensive talent there. CJ Baxter is going to be thrown into that prime role now that Jonathan Brooks is gone. And there's a lot of offensive talent in the wide receiver room at Texas. The defense does lose some pretty key pieces. However, there's still a ton of defensive talent there. And I can thoroughly say, in my personal, humble opinion, that Texas is back. They proved it by making the college football playoff last year and were this close to getting to a national championship game and a shot to go win a national title. Steve Sarkisian's group is built to do that this year. They are entering the SEC, and to me, they're one of the favorites to go win not only the SEC conference, but to also go forth and win a national championship. Quinn Ewers coming back was only the start. This is the Texas team that is loaded top to bottom, and they're going to be really, really tough for anyone that has to play them on their schedule. And that includes the Georgia Bulldogs, a team that I have right there at number 2. Georgia has one of the better built rosters in the entire country. We know what the defense is going to be. And even saying that, the defense, in terms of Georgia standards, took a step back last season. I think it's going to take a step forward from where it was last year. This year, a ton of phenomenal talent, especially in that linebacker room, Chaz Chambliss-led linebacker room that's going to be really, really good. Carson Beck is one of the quarterbacks last year that, in my personal opinion, wasn't talked about quite nearly enough. He's going to be talked about a lot this year. I think he's going to duplicate, if not even do a little bit better than he did last season. They're going to have to rely on him a little bit more, as the running back room, at least in terms of what Georgia has had in the past, might not be as strong. But when I take a look at this Georgia team, still a team that you can easily make a case for at the number 1 spot. Georgia's one of the top teams in college football right now, but there is no denying the roster capabilities and just the roster construction. Ohio State's is the best in the sport right now, and I do not think that, look, while you can make a case for Texas, Oregon, Georgia, my personal opinion, I think Ohio State has the best roster in the entire country. Now, there are still some people doubting that quarterback position with Will Howard, and understandably so. How much of an upgrade of it from Kyle McCord really is it? We'll wait and see. But Aaron Noland, Julian Sayin, Devin Brown, that's a loaded quarterback room. You add Quinshawn Judkins from the portal, earthquake type news. You add Caleb Downs over from Alabama. He led the Crimson Tide in tackles last year as a true freshman, earthquake type news. Every draft eligible player for the Buckeyes pretty much came back. Offensively, defensively, this is an Ohio State team that is loaded top to bottom. This is their year, right? I know you can say that about a lot of teams, Ohio State, Ole Miss, Oregon, Texas, but this is the year for the Buckeyes, right? Ryan Day did what Michigan did last year, right? It's very similar. Everyone that was draft eligible came back. He went into the portal and got some of the talent that he needed to go get. Ohio State is going to be a very, very good team this year and absolutely are going to be one of the favorites to go win a national championship. Hey, there is my top 25. Let me know if you would change anything. And hey, even let me know your personal top 25 down in the comment section below. Ladies and gentlemen, the college football content is back. Remember to play hard, but tailgate harder. And I will see all of you guys in the next video. Prediction season right around the corner. Goodbye.